Did you hear me? Shana Tova, everybody. Good morning. Here, thank you. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Yo! Hello, everybody. Shana Tova. Page 1.
Good morning. A few reminders. Please silence your cell phone. Check them now, even if you think you've turned them off. Our sanctuary has a built-in hearing loop for those requiring hearing assistance. We're sorry there are no headphones this year if your hearing aid is not compatible with the loop. Please share this information with others in your party if they are unable to hear me clearly. 3 sets of restrooms are available. Single stall, non-gender specific bathrooms are on this floor and on the lower level. Gender specific multi-stall restrooms are also on the lower level. Access them through the doors on my right and follow the signs near the main stairs and the adjacent elevator. All restrooms are wheelchair accessible. This morning, Eve Thoreau will give our personal reflection, and Nicole Schindler will offer our prayer for the world. For some of our prayers, it is traditional to stand. Please know that you are always free to remain seated, and your voices will be heard just as well. And please join the choir in song and prayer. Gamar Chatima Tova.
We continue on the middle of page 1. Here I am, again, without much to offer by way of moral worth. I have a rich collection of defeats. Maybe that's to your liking? I don't know. Do you? If I'm to be quite frank, your likes and dislikes have never been all that clear to me. Presumably, love is something you're in favor of. And I've found it possible to love, but never without a certain anguish. Whether that's the way you intended it, or that's a problem all my own, I can't say. Can you? I've never wanted to pain others. I've never wanted to pain myself. I guess I can plead good intentions, but I needn't tell you about good intentions and the road to hell. I've often wondered, did you yourself intend that to live would be so complicated? To find a way in the world so hazardous? Did you have any idea at all that living would involve such confusion and such heartbreak? I can't be sure any of this will mean much to you. I can't even be sure that you exist as more than a figment of my own mysterious psyche. It's a risk to open up to you. Who knows, I may be branding myself a terrible fool. But what's not a risk? What's guaranteed to be foolproof? So here I am again, praying for some modest bravery so that I can go on saying to you, here I am again.
Bottom of page 2. Let every living soul bless your name, eternal God, and let every human being acclaim your majesty forever and ever. Through all eternity, you alone are our sovereign God, God of all ages, of all creatures, of all generations, all praise to you. You guide the world with steadfast love, your creatures with tender mercy. You neither slumber nor sleep. You awaken the sleeping and arouse the dormant. You give speech to the silent, freedom to the enslaved, and justice to the oppressed. To you alone we give thanks.
Therefore, O God, limbs and tongue and heart and mind shall join to praise your name. Every tongue will yet affirm you, and every soul will give you allegiance. As it is written, all my limbs shall say, who is like you, Eternal One? And David sang, bless the Eternal One, O my soul, and let all that is within me bless God's holy name.
Seated. We continue responsively on the bottom of page 3. Maker of darkness and dawn, the God who opens the gates of mercy, who gives light to all who await forgiveness, be with us on this atonement day. God of hope and joy, be with us this day. Be with us as we look for strength to be free, freedom to struggle against those who worship power, and power to resist all who would oppress us.
B'mitzvotech,
O one and only God, you have made each of us unique and formed us to be united in one family of life. Be with us, Eternal One, as we seek to unite our lives with your power and your love. We proclaim now your oneness and our own hope for unity. We acclaim your creative power in the universe and in ourselves, the law that binds world to world and heart to heart.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha. V'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha. V'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam. V'shivtecha b'veitecha u'vlechtecha b'derech u'vshokfecha u'vkumecha. U'kshartam liot al yadecha. V'hayule totafot beinenecha, uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. Lema'an tizkiru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'item kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lihiot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. In this world waiting to be redeemed, our hearts cry out. Cannot our dearest hopes at last come true? Many are our defeats, yet how many are deliverances? After servitude to Pharaoh, we choose service to God. After exile in Babylon, we rebuild God's shrine. Yesterday's wounds, so nearly fatal, begin to heal, and Israel, living still, plants new seeds of redemption. Let the time come will sing with one accord.
שיבחו גאולים לשמחו השפת הים יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו
Adonai, God Israel.
Adonai,
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Zochreinu L'chaim, Melech Achid v'Chaim, Odenu B'Sefer HaChaim, Lema'ancha Elohim Chaim, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah Rav lehoshia, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha b'gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Michamocha av harachamim, Zocher yitzurav, L'chaim berachamim, L'chaim berachamim, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol.
You may be seated. We continue responsively, page 8. Your might, O God, is everlasting. You are the source of life and blessing. You are the support of the falling. You are the author of freedom.
Help us to set free the captive.
You are our hope in death as in life.
Help us to keep faith with those who sleep in the dust.
Your might, O God, is everlasting.
Help us to use our strength for good.
Let us proclaim the sacred power of this day. It is awesome and full of dread. For on this day your dominion is exalted, your throne established in steadfast love. There, in truth, you reign. In truth, you are judge and arbiter, counsel and witness. You write and you seal. You record and account. You remember deeds long forgotten. You open the book of our days, and what is written there proclaims itself, for it bears the signature of every human being. The great shofar sounded, the still small voice was heard. The angels, gripped by fear and trembling, declare in awe, this is the day of judgment, for even the hosts of heaven are judged, as all who dwell on earth stand waiting. As the shepherd seeks out the flock and makes the sheep pass under the staff, so do you muster and number and consider every soul, setting the bounds of every creature's life and decreeing its destiny.
Rosh Hashanah, Yikateru, Uyam Som Kippur, Yekatenu. Rosh Hashanah, Yikateru, וביום צום כיפור יחתמון, כמו יעברון וכמו יבראון. ראש השנה יקטרון, וביום צום כיפור, וביום צום כיפור יחתמון. ראש השנה, ראש השנה יקטרון, וביום צום כיפור, וביום צום כיפור יחתמון. מי יחיה ומי ימות.
מי וקיצור, ומי לא וקיצור, מי ומים, ומי ואש, מי וקרב, ומי וקיה, מי ורב, ומי וצמא.
ראש השנה יקטרון, וביום צום כיפור, וביום צום כיפור יחתמון. ראש השנה, ראש השנה יקטרון, וביום צום כיפור, וביום צום כיפור יחתמון.
מי ינוח ומי ינוח, מי שקט ומי יטרף.
מי ישלב ומי ישסר, מי יעני ומי יאשר, מי ישפל ומי ירום.
On Rosh Hashanah it is written, on Yom Kippur it is sealed. How many shall pass on, how many shall come to be? Who shall live and who shall die? Who shall see ripe age and who shall not? Who shall perish by fire and who by water? Who by sword and who by beast? Who by hunger and who by thirst? Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who shall be secure and who shall be driven? Who shall be tranquil and who shall be troubled? Who shall be poor and who shall be rich? Who shall be humbled and who exalted? Together.
Put repentance, prayer, and
Tzedakah, temper, justice, your decree.
The
generations we will make known your greatness, and to all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. Blessed is the Eternal One who rules in holiness. You are with us in our prayer, in our love, in our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and to do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble and pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answers to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Continue responsively on the bottom of page 10. Peace and happiness, blessing, grace, love, and mercy, may these descend on all Israel and all the world. Bless us, O God, one and all, with the light of your presence, for in the light of your presence we find the fullness of life, faithful love and charity, compassion, blessing, and peace. Praised be the one who teaches Israel and all peoples to love and pursue peace and to bring it to all the earth.
Good morning. Today, on this morning of reflection, I am thinking about a beans campaign. Yes, a beans campaign. And I know that I'm committing a massive faux pas by talking about food on Yom Kippur, so please forgive me. Hi, I am Eve Turo-Paul. In this community, my claim to fame is that I'm Annette Turo's daughter. I began my Jewish journey here at Hakafa when I was in kindergarten, and I'm thrilled to be back now with my own family, my husband Jason, Liv, who is 6, and Inez, who is 3. 6 years ago, I founded an organization called Food for Climate League. At FCL, we aim to change the way people talk and think about sustainable food choices, to make climate-smart eating accessible and desirable for all. We take on many projects at FCL and work with places like Disneyland and YouTube and the University of Michigan. And over the last few years, we embarked on our first campaign called Beans Can. This work is really not just about beans. It's about uplifting a category of food that is underutilized in American food culture today. Beans, peas, and lentils belong to a food category called pulses. Pulses are chock full of protein, fiber, and nutrients, and they're also a critical tool for farmers who want to naturally build soil health. Pulses put more nitrogen into the soil, which means farmers who plant pulses don't need to spray synthetic nitrogen. And of course, swapping in a bean-based meal for a beef-based meal reduces your carbon footprint by 98.5%. So eat more beans, peas, and lentils, improve your health, support our farmers, make a dent in climate change, and probably save some money along the way. But of course, this work is not that simple. And that's because people are biased against beans, really, truly biased. People think that beans aren't special. They associate them with poverty. On the bright side, most people do agree that when prepared well, these dishes can be incredibly delicious and taste like being wrapped in a warm hug. Still, beans face an uphill battle. So we have a Beans Can campaign where we inspire food service providers to offer more bean-based meals and put out messaging that inspires eaters to choose those dishes. We emphasize global flavors and nostalgia. Think falafel, chana masala, bean chili, etc. Now, why on Yom Kippur have I been reflecting on this campaign? Because in the next stage of this project, I've been reaching out to mission-aligned organizations. And the responses have been, well, frustrating. I'm not going to directly quote the emails, but the long and short of it is, the lentil people don't want to be affiliated unless we make the campaign Lentils Can. The pulse people want it to be Pulses Can. One of these parties refused to even get on a call to talk about our approach unless we agreed to put their category as the headline of the campaign. Beans are having a moment, I've explained. People are searching for bean recipes. They know what beans are. They're affordable and accessible and familiar. Chickpeas and lentils deserve a moment too, they've rebutted. These responses have made me, quite frankly, enraged. More enraged than usual. And no, it's not because I dislike chickpeas or lentils. In fact, I love them and think you should too. I faced these responses years ago when this work first began, but now several years in with data to back up the efficacy of the Beans Can approach, and with the world being what it is, I somehow expected a different answer. I thought that perhaps my colleagues who represent the lentil and pulse stakeholders of America would be able to see that even though we may disagree on how to reach the end goal, we share the same mission. Sure, we lead with beans. They're familiar, they're popular, dense bean salads are trending on TikTok. But we also get operators to serve more lentils and chickpeas too, by later explaining they're all part of the same pulse family. So maybe lentils and pulse people should just take a call, and we could discuss the possibilities. Because by working together, we are far more likely to achieve our mission of making these foods more mainstream. I'm happy to say that one of these parties did end up getting on a call, and we'll see what comes of it. But the experience riled me up because it feels emblematic of the larger problem we face today. We've forgotten how to work with and sometimes even just talk to people who may disagree with us, even slightly. And underneath that, I think we've forgotten that we're all on the same team. We're all interconnected. We let the smaller disagreements blind us to what we share in common. When I explain to my children what I do for a living, I say, Mama teaches people how to be kind to the earth. But how did we get here and how did I get here? Since 2010, I've been researching the rise of foodie culture, looking at why young people have decided to invest so much of our discretionary time and income on food and food media. For years, I helped companies develop products that would sell well to the millennial market. And over those years, I became increasingly aware not just of sales of avocado toast, but of problems in our food system. First, it was murmurs I heard of crop yields beginning to decrease. It was reading articles from the United Nations, the World Health Organization, and others that told me there's only a few decades of topsoil left on Earth. I learned that the food system accounts for 1/3 of all greenhouse gas emissions. It's the #1 driver of deforestation, biodiversity loss. But then I also started to learn about the solutions. The top 2 most effective ways to combat the climate crisis relate to food. And these 2 actions are more powerful than solar power, than wind power, than EVs. And it's politically dangerous, which is why you don't hear about it. It's so simple. #1, waste less food. 2, eat more plants and less animals, particularly red meat. I learned that in the US, an average of 10 billion hamburgers are consumed every year. That's approximately 3 per person per week. But if every American just ate 2 instead of 3, it would have the same environmental impact as taking 12 million cars off the road for a year. 12 million cars by changing 1 meal a week. Does this rock your world as much as it rocks mine? So that's the protein part. And when it comes to waste, I learned that 1/3 of all food produced in the US is thrown out. Most of that happens in our own homes. It's when we forget those ingredients in the back of the fridge, we order too much at a restaurant and just don't really feel like eating the leftovers. And it might not feel like much, but if you and everyone you know is doing the same thing, it adds up to an incredible loss. These habits aren't so difficult to change, and that's what gets me out of bed every morning. These are actionable, real solutions to the climate crisis that can be achieved on the quickly truncating timeline that we have. Imagine if every one of us just wasted a little less food. Imagine if 1 meal a week were shifted from beef to beans. The potential impact of these small changes is staggering, and it's what gives me hope. Mind you, I also want to be clear, I'm not saying never waste or go vegan or just eat beans. I don't claim there's a single solution. I believe in it all. Alternative meats, regenerative meats, hydroponics, eating insects, aquatic foods. I believe in eating your leftovers, use your freezer, compost, and meal plan. But I cannot tell you how often I get beaten up by others in my sector for simply being open to more than one solution. I'm often maligned for working with the animal welfare people, and the food access people, and the climate people, and the nutrition people. Are there slight discrepancies in our missions? For sure. For example, one of our close partners is focused on animal welfare. They're working on removing eggs from the food system. I personally don't care about eggs. They're affordable, they're nutritious, they have a low carbon footprint. But this organization is 80 to 90% aligned with ours. So why not work together on the 80% of the areas where we do align? All too often, we cannot see the forest for the trees. Say what you will about our country's current leadership, but there is one thing they're doing quite well. They've wrapped disparate fractions of the Republican and conservative parties under one tent. Now, I'm not sure how long their tent will remain tied at the seams. But for now, by bringing together people with different theories of change, different tactics, but similar large missions, they're getting things done. Unfortunately, I personally don't agree with hardly any of what they're accomplishing. But you have to give credit where credit is due. And maybe there are things we should be learning from here. Beans, peas, and lentil people can work together, guys. In my line of work, we focus on behavior change, getting people to just slightly shift their habits, and it's a challenge. Changing the way chefs think about the food they serve, how they make it, changing the choices that people make in their day-to-day lives. It's quite easy to get lost in the weeds, to get wrapped up in the small setbacks. But sometimes I am able to take a step back and think, how did this become our relationship to food in the first place? Why are we wasting so much of it? Why are we so stuck on eating burgers? I truly don't think that most people I know want entire sections of the Amazon to be cut down so that we can grow more soy to feed more cows so we can have a hanger steak when we want. But that is what is happening. And at the end of the day, I think most of it has to do with simply being detached. We no longer see ourselves as a part of a larger system, intimately interconnected with one another. I think many people simply don't know. In this developed world, we don't have to know anymore. I once saw a bumper sticker that I loved that said, "Why do you care so much about the environment?" The answer, because I live there. But I don't think of the environment, this planet, as just my home. I think of it as my body, as my cells. We are literally what we eat, and what we eat is literally the earth. Native American communities have talked about these ties for generations. An old Native American proverb says, "When the blood in your veins returns to the sea, and the earth in your bones returns to the ground, perhaps then you will remember that this land does not belong to you. It is you who belong to the land." Why should we care about soil health? Because the nutrients in soil go into our food, which then fuels our bodies and our cells. Why should we care about clean air and clean water? The answer is the same. We are inextricably tied to the earth because we are the earth. These ties now are becoming more and more fractured, not just with the natural world, but with one another. In my time researching the why behind the rise of foodie culture, the answers always come back to the rise of the digital age. No, we're not obsessed with food because it's easy to take pictures of our meals, though it is. We're largely focused on posting pictures of meals for strangers to like and heart because the world is suffering from an incredibly serious loneliness epidemic. Though people talk about millennial and Gen Z generations as the most connected generations of all time, we're actually the least connected generation on record. We post and live stream instead of hugging and high-fiving and holding hands. We take pictures of our food because by and large we're eating alone, and we want to show off, show people what we stand for, and feel the validation of others. In 1990, a third of Americans said they had more than 10 close friends. Now, that number is hovering just above 10%. In 1990, only 3% of Americans said they had no close friends. Now, that's 12% of us, quadruple the number from 1990. Our modern world encourages this separation. Even when we act in support of others, our technologies allow us to do so from a distance. We click to sign a petition. We Venmo a donation. We like a post. These things do matter, but they also allow us to stay in our silos, participating without meaningfully engaging with others. And while, yes, we've made these interactions seamless and easy, we've removed the opportunity for deep human connection, and with that, understanding and patience and care, and again, reminders of commonalities between us and our interconnectedness. It's also made it so we rarely need to step outside our comfort zones. When was the last time you intentionally did something that made you uncomfortable? And when was the last time you intentionally did something that made you not just uncomfortable, but not to overcome a fear or for self-improvement, but in an effort to make an impact on an issue you care about deeply outside of yourself? Yom Kippur asks us to willingly step beyond what is comfortable, to reflect, to consider what we need to act on in the year ahead. It's a time to meditate on our values. The hunger pangs act as a meditative recentering. When our minds wander from these critical questions, our stomachs call us back. Increasingly, I feel that our lived environment allows us to avoid this sense of discomfort all the time. Don't like the news? Don't read it. Don't want to hear their arguments? Don't listen. Don't want to think about how your clothes are made, or where your food comes from, or what lays ahead for your grandchildren? No problem. It makes everyone uncomfortable to talk about it anyway. But in fact, this is the problem. Because in putting our blinders on, we're separating ourselves not just from the issues that make us uncomfortable, but we're separating ourselves from one another and our shared reality. So much of the destruction of this moment, the immigration raids, the wars, the hateful speech, the murders, the mass shootings, and yes, the growing climate crisis, to me are all centered on our withering sense of shared humanity, of global citizenship and community. We've somehow forgotten that we're all human, and that by and large, we want the same things. We want to create a beautiful world for our children to thrive in. We want peace, we want joy, and yes, we want delicious meals, and I'm sorry again to be talking about food on Yom Kippur. This separation from one another and our natural world is not going to repair itself without intentional effort. With AI and increased polarization, each of us has to make an intentional effort to reinforce our ties to one another and the natural world. and to, at times, do things that make us uncomfortable. Maybe you feel overwhelmed by all of this, and I do too. That's human. Existing in this moment is nearly unbearable. And often, I'm happy I've just made it through the day. But is making it through the day really enough right now? I do worry that in this truly difficult moment, people will simply retreat further into their isolation, that we will become hardened to others' suffering because it hurts too much to take it all in, that we will continue to detach ourselves from the natural world so we don't need to think so much about its daily destruction. It's easy to stick our hands and heads in the sand, to make excuses that our individual actions don't matter, that the problems are now too big, or to just become fatalistic about it, feeling that change is not possible. But change is never impossible. What would have happened if the generations before us, those who survived authoritarian regimes, inquisitions, pogroms, and the Holocaust, had thrown their hands up and said, "My efforts won't make a difference. Why keep trying?" Throughout my life, when I've learned of horrors occurring throughout history, I have thought, what would I have done? And right now, I'm asking, what am I going to do right now? What is this moment asking of me? It's true, I myself will not solve the climate crisis, but I do feel a responsibility to act, to face the reality, and use the skills and contacts that I have to at least, hopefully, bend culture in a more sustainable direction. For me, climate is the issue that motivates me. It's the grand poobah of problems, one that is impacting or will impact all of Earth's inhabitants. And with food, I see the possibility of actionable solutions that can actually be fun, good for our health, and truly delightful. But I'm not here to tell you that you must change the way you eat. I'm here to say, I hope more people can find the issues that fire them up. Either we could ignore what's happening and stay in our comfort zones, or we, as a global community, can act on the issues that fire us up in ways that take us beyond our comfort zones, that change our mindsets and maybe change our habits. For some, it might mean a simple daily walk in nature as a reminder of how connected we are to the beautiful world around us. For others, it could mean think about how your clothes are made, maybe change the way you shop, buy secondhand, seek items with fair labor practices. This could mean changing the way we engage by listening to communities maybe we've ignored, stepping into coalitions across the aisle. It could mean changing the way we spend our time, devoting energy to register voters, volunteer for communities in need, or march in the streets and call senators to make your values known. Existing in this moment is incredibly hard. And I have to say, it's extra hard doing it with small children. I fear the day when my children will fully absorb what is happening in this world, when I will have to face this reality with them. What will I say? I will tell them that the work of perfecting the world, eradicating injustice, healing social ills, and elevating humanity is an enormous undertaking that no single person or even a single generation can complete. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't each contribute to reaching that ideal. And if everyone takes these small actions, we can slowly repair what is broken. But we need to do so with an open mind, a willingness to engage with others who are different, and a strong sense of our shared role as global citizens. And of course, I will also tell them to eat their beans, peas, and lentils. What I am reflecting on in this moment is how can I, in the year ahead, show up with more empathy and more kindness to my family, to my kids, my parents, my spouse. How can I approach those around me, strangers especially, with respect and without judgment? What activities can I take on that will consistently remind me that I am but one small piece of a larger interconnected web? And instead of just asking others to step out of their comfort zones, I am thinking about what I will do next that stretches me beyond mine. There's a famous quote from Rabbi Hillel that says, "If I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when?" Think about what the world around us is like right now, and ask yourself, if not now, when? Beans don't look like much. They're humble. In Native American tradition, beans are used in a companion planting system called the Three Sisters, where they're put in the soil alongside corn and squash. As they grow, the corn stalk acts as a trellis, The squash leaves provide shade, and the beans enrich the soil around them, creating the conditions for new life. This ancient technique creates a balanced, sustainable, and mutually beneficial system. That is our work too, each of us doing our small part to enrich the soil, provide support and comfort in our shared world. Thank you.
On page 11. Our God, God of our mothers and fathers, grant that our prayers may reach you. Do not be deaf to our pleas, for we are not so arrogant and stiff-necked as to say before you, our God and God of all ages, we are perfect and have not sinned. Rather do we confess we have gone astray, we have sinned, we have transgressed.
Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu Dofi, Ay, 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 Shanu, Zodnu, Hamasnu, Tafalnu Sheker, Ay, 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 ay,
We all have committed offenses. Together we confess these human sins. Some of us kept grudges, were lustful, malicious, or narrow-minded. There was violence, weakness of will, xenophobia. Now may it be your will, O God of all generations, to pardon all our sins, to forgive all our wrongdoings, and to blot out all our transgressions. We sin against you when we sin against ourselves.
For our failures of truth, O God, we ask forgiveness.
For passing judgment without knowledge of the facts.
And for destroying our acts without our theories.
For deceiving ourselves and others with half-truths. For using the sins of others to excuse our own. For condemning in our children the faults we tolerate in ourselves. We turn the page. We sin against you when we sin against ourselves. For our failures of lust. For confusing love with lust. For using others as a means to gratify our desires. For withholding love to control those we claim to love. For hiding from others behind an armor of mistrust. Teach us to forgive ourselves for all these sins, O forgiving God, and help us to overcome them. O God of mercy, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement. As in your love you have been patient with this people from the time you led us out of Egypt to the present day, so in your great love may you forgive your people now.
Shema Koleinu Adonai Eloheinu Shema Koleinu Adonai Eloheinu Chus verachem aleinu V'kabel berachamim uvratzon et tefilatenu Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Kadesh Yameinu kekedem Kadesh Yameinu kekedem Shema Koleinu Adonai Eloheinu Shema Koleinu Adonai Eloheinu.
David Millman mentioned to me at the beginning of services, right before services today, that the canoe trip's gotten a lot of plugs this past couple times that we've been together. Back in 2010, when we had our first big hiking trip to Hakafah, I was wondering to myself throughout the trip why so many Israelis were approaching our bus to talk to our bus driver. When you go on a trip to Israel, they put the name of the congregation and your symbol on the front of the bus. And our name, Hakafah, when read in Hebrew, is actually Hakafeh, which is a coffee house. So here I thought that all these folks were interested in us, when in fact they were saying, what's this traveling coffee house? I mention that because we are unique in the world in that we have this name called Hakafah. And that's a really wonderful name. The name Hakafah comes from the Bible, actually, from when Joshua fought the Battle of Jericho and the walls came tumbling down. Right before they came tumbling down, it was the Israelites who took 7 walks around the walls as a sign of intimidation. So the fact that this congregation took that name is hilarious, but also we did it to take that term and turn it on its head. To say that an act that was a sign of war can be a sign of bringing people in instead of intimidation, to one of love and appreciation. So we are the only congregation ever to be called Hakafah. And we're the only congregation to be called Hakafah to never do a Hakafah, which is when you take the Torah out and you walk around with it. Now, we started doing them about 15 years ago at B'nai Mitzvah. We have done them a couple times here in the afternoon when there was only a few of us here, 100 or so. So we decided it's time. And we decided this year of all years, because at the canoe trip, I asked David Dosick what it would take for him to coordinate the canoe trip one more year. And he said, do a Hakafah. So in a moment, we are going to move into the Torah service, which begins with Avinu Malkeinu. And I offer this Hakafah, this carrying of the Torah, and you want to ask why later on, why we haven't done it? Ask Anna, she'll tell you. But the truth is, I offer this with love and appreciation for our founders, for love and appreciation for Robert, whom I know that wherever he is right now is turning in his proverbial grave and groaning, and I love every moment of it as much as I love him. So it's in the spirit of that in a moment we're going to move into Avinu Malkeinu. After Avinu Malkeinu, you're going to see the Shayets, Elias and Michelle. Elias is a rabbi who's helped us out. He is a rabbi for the military up at Great Lakes. Michelle, I never remember where you work. I apologize. It's equally important. What? Jewish Federations of North America. We even love them. They are going to be taking 2 of the Sifrei Torah and marching them around down here. And we asked David to take the Czech Torah, to take it up to you all to march up there. In the spirit of what it is, we look forward to hearing what you all think about it. If you like it, talk to me. If not, talk to her. On the bottom, I love you, Anna. On the bottom of page 13, I read. Read with me. Why not? Read with me, the bottom of page 13. Hear our voice, Adonai our God. Have compassion upon us, and with that compassion, willingly accept our prayer. Cause us, Adonai, to return to you, and then we will return. Renew our days as of old. On page 14, I ask that you rise for Avinu Malkeinu.
שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד.
Seder Kriyat Torah. The Torah reading can be found on page 15. We'll be reading the first, third, and fourth parts of the portion. Blessing at the top of the page. Wait a second, I gotta get the mic to you. Hold on.
Baruch et Adonai haBara.
Baruch Adonai HaMorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher bachar bano mikol amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah noten haTorah.
Amen. Atem nitzakvim hayom kulechem lifnei Adonai Elohechem Rashechem Shivtechem Ziknechem V'shodrechem Kol Ish Yisrael Tapchem Nishechem V'gercha Asher Bekerev Machanecha Mechotev Etzecha Ad Shoev Memecha Le'avracha Bivrit Adonai Elohecha Uvalato Asher Adonai Elohecha Koret Imha Hayom Lema'an Hakimot Hayom Lo Le'am V'hu Yiyeh lecha lelohim ka'asher diber lach v'ka'asher nishba la'avotecha la'avraham le'yitzhak u'yaakov velo idchem levadchem Anochi koret et habrit hazot ve'et ha'ala hazot ki et asher yeshno po imanu omed hayom lifnei Adonai Eloheinu va'et asher einenu po imanu hayom.
Ra'eh natati lefanecha hayom et ha'chaim ve'et ha'tov ve'et ha'mavet ve'et ha'rav asher anochi mitzavecha hayom le'ahava et Adonai Elohecha la'lechet b'drachav v'lishmor mitzvotav v'hukotav u'mishpatav v'chayita v'ravita u'v'rachacha Adonai Elohecha ba'aretz asher tava shama l'rishta.
He got it to you. We got it. Vigadti lachem hayom yavod tovedun lo tarichun yamim al hadamo asher ato over et hayardein O Shama Lerishta Haidoti Vachem Hayom Et Hashamayim Et Haaretz Achayim V'Hamavet נתתי לפניך הברכה והקלה לו וחטא בחיים למען תחיה אתה וזרעך אהבה את אדוני אלוהיך לשמוע בקולו ולדווקא בו כי הוא זרעך חייך ויורך ימיך לשבת על אדמה אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיך לאברהם, ליצחק וליעקב, לתת להם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam notah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
I ask that you please rise.
זאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל, על פי אדוני ביד משה. יא לי 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 לי, יא לי 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 לי, יא לי 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 לי, יא לי 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 לי.
The blessings for the Haftarah, bottom of page 16.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar binviim tovim v'ratza b'divreihem hane'emarim ba'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah u'v'moshe avdo u'v'Yisrael amo u'v'inviei ha'emet v'tzedek.
Krav v'garon al tachshoch, kashofar harem kolechecha, v'hageh le'amo pish'am u'levet Yaakov chatotam. God says, cry with a full throat, do not hold back. Let your voice resound like a shofar. Declare to my people their transgression and to the house of Jacob their sin. Yes, they seek me daily as though eager to learn my ways, as if they were a people that does what is right and has not forsaken the way of its God.
Because on your fast day you pursue your own affairs, while you oppress all your workers, because your fasting leads only to strife and discord, while you strike with the cruel fists. Such fasting on this day will not help you to be heard on high.
Is this the fast I have chosen? A day of self-affliction, bowing your head like a reed and covering yourself with sackcloth and ashes? Is this what you call a fast, a day acceptable to the eternal? Is not this the fast I have chosen? To unlock the shackles of injustice, to loosen the ropes of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, and to tear every yoke apart. Surely it is to share your bread with the hungry and to bring the homeless poor into your house. When you see the naked, to cover them, never withdrawing yourself from your own kin.
If you remove lawlessness from your midst, the pointing finger, the malicious word, if you give yourself to the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted, when your light shall shine in the darkness and your night become bright as noon, the Eternal One will guide you always, filling your throat in parched lands and renewing your body's strength. You shall be like a garden overflowing with water, like a spring that never fails. Some of you shall rebuild the ancient ruins, rebuilding the foundations of ages past. You shall be called the repairer of breach, restorer of streets to dwell in.
Az titanag al Adonai, hirkavticha al bamatei aretz, v'ha'achalticha nachalat Yaakov avicha, ki pi Adonai diber.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, sadik b'chol hadorot, ha'el האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום הכיפורים הזה, שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, למחילה ולסליחה ולכפרה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך, ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך, בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד, ודברך אמת וקיים לעד. ברוך אתה, אדוני, מלך מוחל וסולח לעוונותינו, ולעוונות עמו בית ישראל, ומעביר אשמותינו בכל שנה ושנה, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל ביום הכיפורים.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. My name is Nicole Schindler. My grandparents, Harriet and Stan Rosenthal, are founding members of the congregation, and I'm extremely honored that Rabbi Elder asked me to write the original prayer for the world today. Being asked to write an original prayer for the world is no small task, and with everything going on today, keeping this under 2 minutes might be the biggest miracle of all. The world has become a very scary place, where differences too often lead to division, intolerance, and violence. This must end. Judaism teaches us that each person was intentionally created with a unique and important purpose. My prayer for the world is that we honor this by seeing the humanity in each other, respecting our differences, and recognizing that the world needs every single one of us. A world where we are not defined by our background, race, ethnicity, gender, sexual identity, political opinions, or socioeconomic status, but first and foremost as human beings with a common desire for peace, happiness, and to be loved. I pray for a world where no person is valued above another, and where every person is granted the blessing of safety and well-being. I pray for a world where those in power act as role models, not as those who our parents warn us not to be, where we can look to our leaders as examples of how to handle disagreements with respect and dignity, so that violence never becomes the answer. I pray for a world where no child knows the fear of being in a war zone, where innocent children are never forced to bear battles that are not theirs, and where every child gets to grow up in safety. I know we are not all going to like each other, but we have seen too often what happens when these dislikes escalate to division, intolerance, and ultimately violence. This must end. There is so much more I can pray for, but to keep this under 2 minutes, I will leave it at this. For the sake of the world, our children, and future generations, may we honor the divine purpose in one another so that respect replaces hatred and peace endures. Amen.
On page 19, we rise.
Eitz chaim hi למחזיקים בה ותומכיה מאושר דרכיה דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה חדש חדש ימינו חדש ימינו כקדם.
We just want to take a moment to offer a very special thank you. Tori's been with us for a number of years now, and in running our choir the way she has really transformed it in such a wonderful, important way. So Tori, on behalf of the congregation, she will not be with us moving forward, at least at the high holidays, unless we beg. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for everything that you have done for us over these years. We love you. Thank you.
Her name was Carissa. She was 55 years old and recovering from breast cancer surgery when I entered her hospital room at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles as a student chaplain several years ago. The moment Carissa saw me, she said, "You're the rabbi? Where's the beard?" Then she launched into a whirlwind life story. Parakeets, Dachshunds, COVID, cancer, a Ferrari, mushroom farming, making it clear that she was not just a character, but a master storyteller capable of turning her life into her own irresistible plot. Then she revealed this. She told me that she always felt Jewish, but never practiced Judaism, and desperately wanted to convert to Judaism as soon as possible. Perhaps even during her hospital stay, and it was urgent. In rabbinical school, we are taught that converting to Judaism can and should be a process. It's a lifelong commitment that entails studying and questioning and reflecting until you come to a point when you feel that you're ready to commit yourself and count yourself as a Jew. So, of course, upon being pressed by this stranger to convert her as soon as possible in her hospital bed, my alarm bells sounded. I visited Carissa 3 more times before she was released from the hospital. During each visit, I offered to study Torah with her, to engage in text studies, or to answer any questions she may have about Judaism or the Jewish people. And each time she rerouted the conversation. Each time she rejected study, declaring that she just wanted to be a Jew because she loved Judaism so much. Our relationship ended with me offering my email address to continue the conversation whenever she felt ready. I never heard from her again. A few months later, my curiosity got the best of me, and I typed her name into Google. I found endless incriminating articles about her. It turned out that the armed guard who stood in the hallway outside her hospital room was not, as I initially assumed, only there for the known convicted felon a few doors down. The guard was also there for Carissa, who, unbeknownst to me, was then serving time in prison. The articles described Carissa as a seasoned con artist. She had tricked hundreds of people into donating millions of dollars to her. She had lied, she had been deceitful, cunning, and manipulative. After completing my chaplaincy at the hospital that year, I came to understand that although unusual, a few inmates request conversion to various religions during hospital stays where they have unlimited and immediate access to chaplains. Why? Because certain religious observances, Judaism included, allow inmates exemptions from working on certain days, and most importantly, allow them special meals, kosher meals, that are set aside for them, different from the daily gruel being served to everyone else. I'll never truly know if Carissa was being honest in her desire to convert to Judaism. After discovering that I may have just been another pawn in her history of scams, all I know is I'll never forget how it made me feel, used and foolish. She may have engaged in the sin of gnevat da'at, a legal term from our Mishnah that means a theft of the mind. And during a time in our world where so many of us feel that we are losing our minds, we are even more susceptible to this type of manipulation. In fact, I feel that it's happening now in real time on a much greater scale. Jewish family friends of mine are starting the college tour process with their daughter. And they told me that at first they were looking at colleges solely on the East and West coasts. But with the recent uptick in anti-Semitism on campuses, They told me that the South, though rife with MAGA supporters, is where they feel their Jewish daughter will be best protected. In fact, on a recent college visit to Ole Miss, they described driving past a barn where one side was beautifully painted with the words, "America stands with Israel," transposed over American and Israeli flags. Then on the other side of the barn, there was a painting of Jesus hugging Trump with the words, "Our saviors are here." Despite the Trump side of the barn, our friends said, we felt safer in our Jewish skin seeing that other side of the barn. In this current moment, I believe the greatest threat facing our safety as a Jewish community is not anti-Semitism from the left or from the right. It is the use of anti-Semitism as a bargaining chip, a national manipulation tactic, a gnevat da'at, a theft of the mind. And this manipulation tactic uses anti-Semitism as an excuse. This increases our vulnerability to actual anti-Semitic attacks. So here we are now, another year, another series of congressional hearings purportedly trying to hold universities accountable for increasingly violent and extreme anti-Semitic incidents on campus. So, shouldn't we applaud these efforts? The fact that there are finally grown-ups in the room, a joint task force to combat anti-Semitism, determined to hold academic institutions accountable for so utterly failing to protect Jewish students on campus since October 7th. These universities that have failed to enforce clear guidelines and protocols to respect students' right to protest and engage in free speech while simultaneously keeping all students safe. Historically, many universities balanced these competing interests effectively when it came to highly charged issues like race or protesting American involvement in wars. So why can't universities now do the same thing when it comes to anti-Semitism? I've heard many people say that they are relieved that finally someone with authority is publicly recognizing that it's not right for Jewish students to be threatened and marginalized and kicked out of clubs. Finally, someone is objecting to these classes being disrupted, these dorms being invaded by supposed activists with jackboots stomping on Jewish stars, waving posters of machine guns with words that say the enemy will be eliminated. Finally, someone is standing up for these Jewish students who are met on their way home from Shabbat dinner with banners that scream, "Go back to Poland." Well, in the spirit of the honesty and vulnerability appropriate for Yom Kippur, I'll share with you where I stand. I am not relieved. This time I refuse to be fooled. Our saviors have not arrived. Ted Cruz and Charlie Kirk are not our messiahs. And none of these efforts have made Jews even a smidgen safer. These efforts include denying a university $400 million for academic research and education funding, and threatening to deport students who engage in protests while denying them due process. These actions are not motivated by a genuine desire to keep Jewish students safe and to end anti-Semitism on campus. Because many of these same people crying their crocodile tears over anti-Semitism and donning their yellow ribbon pins on their lapels are leading the fight to defund federal civil rights enforcement and pressure the EEOC to stop prosecuting cases of discrimination against trans and non-binary people. We are being exploited. As Rabbi Brous of Ikar in Los Angeles said, in order to advance the goal of a white Christian nation, under the guise of combating anti-Semitism. As U.S. District Judge Allison Burroughs announced early last month, the current administration is using anti-Semitism as a smokescreen to assault our country rather than genuinely address anti-Semitism. So no, I can't trust that these people are genuinely interested in fighting discrimination against Jews. That other side of the barn is too terrifying for me to trust that these folks are truly interested in fighting anti-Semitism. Many of these people fawn over the wealthiest man alive, defending his support of the neo-Nazi party in Germany and his repeated use of the Nazi salute. And no, a Heil Hitler is not just an awkward gesture. These same warriors against anti-Semitism perpetrate Nazi-era imagery of the Jewish billionaire pulling the purse strings of the government. These same warriors will amplify the voices of their far-right anti-Semitic influencers. In fact, these warriors embrace the same precise images and conspiracy theories relied on by some of the student protesters that they're arresting and threatening with deportation. These congressional hearings, the defunding, the threats of militarized campuses, and forced rewriting of academic curricula are all threads from the same repugnant cloth. These are, or should be, extreme shofar blasts that permeate to the core of our souls, begging us to wake up and realize who, even in our temporary comfort, we feel inclined to hide behind. I understand why some Jews may feel instinctively comforted by seeing this type of support. Sometimes I catch myself breathing a sigh of relief. Finally, someone is listening to us. Someone is coming to our aid. But then I need to force myself to honestly ask, is this genuine support? Is this honest relief? What may feel today like a welcomed embrace is actually putting us in graver danger. Jews are being used now to advance a political agenda that will cause harm to the social fabric and institutions that are best suited to protect Jews and all minorities. We are pawns in a reckless game. Our pain and our trauma are being exploited to eviscerate the dream of a multiracial democracy that celebrates inclusivity. David Suissa, editor-in-chief of LA's conservative Jewish Journal, writes, "On the one hand, it's good to see that our government is taking seriously the anti-Jewish onslaught that began on college campuses right after the Hamas massacre of October 7th. But if the government goes too far and uses anti-Semitism as an excuse to unlawfully kick out agitators, the effort will end up backfiring on the Jews. The last thing we need is to be held responsible for the outreach of an overly aggressive government." In this tactic, Jews as scapegoat to divide our society and weaken democratic norms, this is the oldest of old news. This is a playbook that has been used by authoritarians of the far right and the far left. Those whose interest is in sowing division, in justifying repressive policies, and distracting the population from the truly wicked agenda that's advancing in front of our eyes at warped speed. How can the political issues we're concerned about, including not only anti-Semitism in Israel, but also reproductive rights, immigrant rights, climate justice, how can they be adequately addressed when our identity is not seen as part of our humanity, but as a political talking point? We can turn to Hannah Arendt, who warns exactly of this in The Origins of Totalitarianism. Anti-Semitism, she writes, was the ideological weapon for the destruction of the old quarter. It served to absolve new movements of all responsibility for the upheaval that they were engendering. Arendt reminds us that Jews are paradoxically blamed for both the protests and the repressive response to them, for both globalism and nationalism, for both capitalism and communism. Jews are the perfect wedge. And as Bruce mentioned last night, Robert Marx, Zichrono Livracha, so eloquently put it, we are paradoxically interstitial people. And that makes us the perfect pawn for those who are seeking to dissolve our democracy. The relative calm of the past many decades for Jews in America has been an exception. History shows us that the rule is turmoil. Being a political pawn has always been part of the Jewish story. During the Black Plague of the 14th century, Jews were scapegoated and falsely accused of poisoning wells. leading to a horrific massacre across all of Europe. Centuries later, Charles Dickens' outrage at child abuse took shape in Oliver Twist, where he cast the villain as Fagin, the sinister Jew. And even in modern times, the French government refused for years to admit that Captain Alfred Dreyfus, a Jewish officer, had been wrongfully convicted of treason, using his case to distract the public from corruption in the military. For much of our modern history, in many different contexts, we've been used by parties across the political spectrum to represent the ills or successes that they find useful in the moment. You would think by now that we would have learned how to better navigate these climates, especially since October 7th. The American right and left have been duking it out over who's the biggest protector of the Jews and who's the biggest perpetrator of anti-Semitism. The accusations have flung back and forth at a dizzying pace, a pace that has convinced some of us that a barn in Bethlehem, Mississippi, depicting our president as the world's Lord and Savior could actually be a safe haven for us. That possibly, like Carissa at Cedars-Sinai Hospital, they are genuine in their love for and of the Jewish people. On Yom Kippur, we read the story of Jonah. And this year, in this mess of a world in which we find ourselves, what resonates most with me is the story's initial storm scene. Jonah and the sailors are in a fierce tempest that threatens to destroy the entire ship. And with every wave, they're being thrown to the right and to the left. The sailors try everything, even tossing their cargo overboard to lighten the load, but the storm rages on until the sailors decide that Jonah is responsible for causing this great storm. Jonah becomes their scapegoat. They say to him, Hagida na lanu, please tell us, ba'asher lemi hara'a hazot lanu, why do you bring such misfortune upon us? Ma zot asita, what have you done? To the sailors, Jonah is the root of their troubles. Jonah is the cause of the raging seas, and they even convinced Jonah that he was the cause. Ultimately, the sailors tossed Jonah overboard into the sea. This year, this story makes me feel seasick, and it's not just hormonal nausea, although you never know. In our rickety boat right now that seems to be tossing Jews from the left to the right and back again, I feel a need from deep within my soul to drop an anchor, to withstand this storm without losing my heart, without throwing others overboard in a misguided quest for my own protection and survival, and most importantly, without losing my mind. But in order to do this, we need to defy these storms by anchoring ourselves together, by anchoring in our beloved Hakafa community, by anchoring in our unwavering values, by anchoring in our courage, and by drawing upon our resiliency. As you know, the story of Jonah continues with a great fish swallowing him alive. Inside the belly of the fish, Jonah discovers something that he couldn't find anywhere else: quiet, stillness. A strange kind of sanctuary from the dizzying tribalism of life, whether tossed between the left and right wings of a boat or the left and right wings of politics. Cut off from the chaos of the storm and the pressures of the world above, Jonah is finally alone with his thoughts. And it's there, in that dark, enclosed space, his own bizarre island of isolation, that something begins to shift. The panic begins to fade. Jonah doesn't fight or flee, he reflects. For the first time in the story, Jonah prays. He remembers who he is and who God is. He begins to rediscover the center, that in-betweenness that he had lost. And it's only from within that underwater island of solitude that Jonah finds himself again. Oh, there it is. Right on time. We're going to go through it. In that underwater island of solitude that Jonah finds himself in, he praises God, saying, "You have brought my life up from the pit. Jonah then goes on to share this message that is all too relevant for us to all heed in this moment. Mishamrim havle shav chasdam ya'azvu. Those who cling to emptiness of speech forsake their own welfare. It is then and only then that God commands the fish to release Jonah, to spit him back out onto dry land, alive, whole, and ready to begin again. It was not hiding behind emptiness of speech and lies that set Jonah free. It was his realization of truth, gratitude, and in turn God that pried open the jaws of the fish. In this current moment in our country and in our world at large, I can see Jonah despairing because it's a despair that I too have felt this past year. I can see his willingness to be thrown overboard, his impulse to hide below deck amidst a raging storm. Wouldn't it be nice to be swallowed by a fish for just a little bit of time? Sometimes I have to admit, I'm just too tired to care. The most dangerous outcome of all. Last year, in an outstanding piece, journalist Julie Iaffe writes the following: if your heart doesn't break on its own, you have to break it yourself. And when I break it, I feel like I'm on an island drifting farther and farther from land occupied by screaming, angry tribes. It's lonely here on this island, she writes. Jonah knew this island, and we know this island now too. Because so many of us are finding ourselves being forced from our ships and swimming toward this lonely island that is free of unquestioned truths, free of false binaries, and free of manipulative liars spewing bogus certainties. So for many of us, if the left no longer feels like home, and the right isn't genuinely safe either, where do we go? As we learn from Jonah, we stand strong in the belly of the fish, even if it's in solitude. We stay true to ourselves, our values, our humanity. Why? Because this island we've been accidentally, beautifully banished to is rooted in the premise that all people are created b'tselem Elohim in God's own image. That we have a special connection and obligation, yes, to our Jewish family, but that does not in any way diminish our connection to our greater human family. We people on this island abhor violence. We don't want anyone to suffer. We believe in healing and redemption and justice for everyone. On this island, we know that there is another way, that there can be a shared future for Israelis and Palestinians, most of whom do not want to fight to the death, but just want to live in dignity with security and a chance for a future. On this island, as Bruce mentioned last night, we disagree with each other, but we love and respect each other as is modeled by our Talmudic arguments. Instead of hurling violent slogans, we listen to each other and we learn from each other. Our differences enrich us, they don't threaten us. On this island, we know that holding multiple truths doesn't make us crazy, it makes us human. We know that standing on the side of humanity, yes, may make us lonely, but it never makes us wrong. Daniel Hartman, an Israeli rabbi and author, recently said something that I found very moving. In Jewish history, he says, it is often tragedy that has forced us out of the mediocrity of the status quo. My greatest hope is that through this suffering, through the heartache and trauma, we will not allow ourselves to hide below deck during this storm. We will not allow our bodies and minds to cling to emptiness of speech, as Jonah warns, even if it disguises itself as a temporary refuge. Instead, we will eventually birth something new. My hope is that we will not allow ourselves to be used like pawns in this merciless and manipulative current American political landscape. That we will not neglect our values, our history, and our age-old commitment to wrestling with truth and asking the big questions no matter how lonely it makes us. I don't know how long this will take or what this new future might look like, but I know that it will require honesty, creativity, compassion, and for us to embrace this island that we're on and promise ourselves and our friends that we will not run for refuge beneath the wings of false allies. We are not for the taking, and we are nobody's pawn. There is room for all of us on this lonely island, and I hope that you'll come and join me on it. Gmar Chatima Tova.
Continuing with study in the Centennial Room about 5 minutes or 10 minutes from now. And we'll be back here a little bit later. Gmar Chatima, everyone.